Karen husband commands flight attendant give him his original seats. So, she maliciously complies. He gets exactly what he asked for. This happened when I, a 20-year-old woman at the time, was a junior in college. Here's some context. I'd taken a long weekend trip to Florida with a friend of mine to visit her brother and go to the Universal Studios Friday night Halloween event, which was awesome, by the way. We had an amazing trip, and we were on the plane about to head home. This was only my second ever time with air travel. We didn't have much when I was growing up, so vacations were not a regular thing, and the ones we took were low-key. So there I was, just excited to be flying on my coach seat, waiting to take off. And we kept waiting. It became clear that there was a problem with the plane when the flight attendants started calling various passengers to exit to be placed on different flights so they'd make their necessary connections. Eventually, around 40 minutes later, it was just my friend and I plus around 6 other people. And then it was our turn to leave the plane. We were sort of near the end of the group, tromping back into the waiting area. One couple, probably in their mid-50s, had stormed up ahead of us, and by the time my friend and I emerged from the gate entrance, the rude husband was already berating the pair of attendants, who, to their credit, remained poised and calm. They tried to reassure him, but he was talking over them. "This is unacceptable. You'd better get me the same seats we had on that flight." He'd had the first row in coach, the one with no seats in front of it and therefore with extra legroom. Side question, why do I feel like all the stories I hear with these kinds of circumstances include people who are like, "I brought this seat and I'm keeping it"? Anyway, by then the rest of us had gathered around and the attendants began addressing the whole group, offering reassurances, filling us in that there was a critical problem with the plane, which made me very glad for the change despite the inconvenience. The rude husband was going off through all of this, and when the attendants left to make arrangements for us all, he and his wife sat there and he continued his commentary to his poor wife. "Blah blah blah, unacceptable, blah, how dare they, blah blah, better have some seats," and so on. Unbelievable. It was in our best interest to get put on new flights. I mean, something was wrong with the plane. Did that guy want them to fly it anyway? Sheesh. They were doing their jobs by being safe. Shortly, the attendants returned and the man practically rushed them. "I demand you make this right." The attendant smiled and said, "You guys are all set, sir." And she smiled at him specifically. "I'm very happy to tell you that we have a flight leaving shortly and we were able to give you and your wife the exact same seats as you'd booked on the previous flight." "I should hope so. That's the least you can do." And he huffily returned to his chair. Meanwhile, the rest of us were just waiting. The attendant turns to us and says, "And I'm happy to let everyone else know that you'll all be flying first class with us today." Rude husband was furious and immediately jumped up to demand they fly first class as well, while the rest of us just sat there in a state of stunned glee. The attendant just informed the man that she'd given him his request and didn't stick around for more abuse. The wait wasn't long and soon my friend and I were boarded onto the unicorn, fabled place that is first class. As a poor air travel newbie, it was like some kind of fantasy land. Huge seats, really hot washcloths, and though we were underage and couldn't partake of the free cocktail, we did get to choose from a basket of distinctive Pepperidge Farm cookies. And the food! We got a whole meal, which was truly delicious with real crystal salt and pepper shakers at each place setting and actual metal cutlery. Meanwhile, the rude husband was irate. My friend and I were in the last row of first-class seats, which only had around 8, and we could hear him heaping abuse on the coach attendants, going off on how these kids don't deserve first class, and how they should have gotten them. We're older, we should be respected, not some kids. Someone else who was in first class, not from our original plane, caught on and was quite tickled with the man's ire. Then, the best part of all happened. The flight attendant in our section overheard this rude husband's tirade with language specifically directed at my friend and me. "Who do those kids think they are?" As unworthy of the honor he should have been granted. The attendant shook his head and addressed me and my friend. "I'm sorry about that, let me take care of this for you," and he closed the curtain to the coach cabin. Rude husband realized what was happening, which makes it even better. I got one last look at his red, irate face before he was gone forever. It was glorious. I guess I should be grateful to him. He literally went on attack immediately and probably scored the rest of us our first-class tickets. His wife was quiet the whole time. I can't even imagine the stories she could tell us all. Moral of the story, Flight attendants have the power to make people's day or literally break them. Don't be rude to them. Glorious payback from our long-suffering friends in the service industry. Nope, it absolutely sounds like the author and everyone in their vicinity owed the male Karen, or Ken, a very heartfelt thank you for ensuring that they all travelled in such comfort for the remainder of their journey, followed by a hearty slap to his face for just behaving like such a crappy and unempathetic human. I mean, if you all had to walk past him to get to your seats, you could have gone one at a time on your way. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, Ken. The attendants aren't having any better of a time than you are, and behaving like such an absolute butthole is just spreading misery. I've been delayed on flights many times, and standard procedure is to accept that the situation sucks, knuckle down, be nice, and not get angry unless someone who could help is actively standing in the way of you. It's harder for some people than others, admittedly. Bonus points to the attendants for weathering the rest of the storm that they had to endure for so demonstrably passive-aggressively punishing the man. But also such massive praise for rewarding good behavior. It doesn't happen often. You can't use the company TV for your Switch? Sounds good to me. I thought I'd share what felt like a solid victory today. I work for a pretty well-known home improvement store, and we have a break room in the back with a TV for us to watch programs and sitcoms on our break. On this particular day, no one was using the TV. It was turned off and everyone was on their phones. So I figured that there was no harm in plugging in my Switch and sharing the fun of letting people have a go at it. While I'm watching people play, my supervisor walks in and sees the setup. She informs me that this is the company's TV, so you can't use it for personal entertainment. Big bummer since people were having fun, but I can't lose my job, so I pack up my Switch. That day, on my way home from work, I passed by a house that has a massive honkin' old-school CRTV out front that they were giving away for free. It's bigger than the TV that we have at my job, and it still works. The next day, I haul this massive TV out of my car and into the break room. I get a few odd looks, but I don't care. Too focused on complying with the rules. I plug this sucker into the wall right underneath our company TV, now tiny in comparison to the CRTV, and I hook up my Switch to it for people to play. Supervisor walks in and sees people playing on a bigger monitor. I'm not using the company TV, but I am using an even bigger personal TV. People are playing the Switch and having a good time. She tries to say something about how I'm blocking the view or causing disruption in the break room, but the other TV is turned off anyway and people are watching intensely as two co-workers are racing around in Mario Kart. So I really don't think it was that big of a deal. Not really sure if I'm going to get a strike for this or not, but it'll be worth it if I do. And I think I might be able to argue that I followed the rules to the letter. Part of me expects that this TV will mysteriously disappear and that security will have no footage of who might have taken it. Which will be funny since it's so big, but it's the thought that counts. No fun in the workplace, is the narrator's translation of what the supervisor was essentially saying. And yeah, there's a chance that employees could start staying on their breaks for too long and clogging up the break room, but honestly, until that happens, let it play out. Then you seem more reasonable when you actually stop people from using the Switch in the break room. And even if it's still kind of rough, at least you'll have something. I don't think this supervisor is the worst person, given on what we have to go off, and they did have a workplace to run, but yeah, their excuse was weak. They were presumably fine with people watching shows and news on their off time, so there's honestly no difference. If anything, playing a game together is much more of a bonding activity, if only mildly, but it's probably marginally better for team spirit than watching the news or whatever you have. There's no solidly beyond the pale jerk behavior like with Ken in our previous story, but that supervisor should really be asking themselves why they hate their employees having fun so much. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for laughing when a so-called friend told me I had it easier because my husband had died and her soon-to-be ex was dating other people? I'm a widowed mother. Little one and I recently moved to another state for a multitude of reasons. Mostly to stay close to my in-laws, who moved to warmer temperatures for health reasons. I have a mum friend. She's a neighbor. We've been doing playdates as our daughters are around the same age. We get along great for the most part. She's going through a divorce. She's the one who initiated it. All she does is complain about her husband, about how she hates being alone, among other things. I listen, I'm supportive as I can be. There are a lot of mixed messages coming from her. It's a bit delusional, which I did point out. She didn't or doesn't get it. She keeps going on about how it's so hard for her. Ugh. She also told me the only reason they're getting divorced is because she didn't want to be married anymore. She says he's a nice guy and a good father. She just wanted to be single. It's a bit rich when the person who initiates the divorce complains about being alone or the other party moving on. She probably expected him to stay stuck on her. She said to me the other night that I had no idea how hard she has it. She's alone. It's better for me because my husband flat out died. He's not out there dating other women. I'll never understand how alone she feels. And I just laughed. I couldn't help it, and I couldn't stop. I managed to mention that she initiated the divorce. She wanted to be single, but I couldn't stop laughing. So now she's mad at me. She still lets her daughter come over and play, but she doesn't stay. And I'm okay with that. Because it was funny. I just didn't know what to do except laugh because it was so out there. I ugly cried later on when I was alone though. I cry when I'm mad. But am I the jerk? Am I minimizing her feelings? I don't talk about my dead husband. I didn't compare my situation and hers. She did. Oh, I have an update. First of all, thank you all for all of your comments and messages about my story. I appreciate them all. Even the message that alluded to how I may somehow laugh at my kid someday and make her feel like crap because I don't react to insanity like this person thinks a normal person should. Whatever. So the good outcome of this is that my now ex-friend complained to a bunch of our neighbors about me, and I've made quite a few new friends for both myself and the little one. The new ones don't seem unhinged. Time will tell. They enlightened me to the fact that she's pretty much alienated all of her close neighbors for the same kind of reasons. She's someone who always has a worse problem than whatever problem you have. Is that a narcissist? One of them told me they'd replied to her complaints by telling her she was a stupid butthole. She did make a half-hearted attempt to apologize to me, but it was more of a, "I'm sorry you took it like that." Like there was another meaning to it. I did tell her that I'm not mad at her, but Lord, does she have a skewed way of looking at things, and I wish her well, but I don't have the energy to deal with a person like that. I'm too busy dealing with a toddler who wants to be Alice Cooper when she grows up. We've been watching The Muppets on Disney+. So far, him and Elton John have been her favorite episodes. This is nothing as dramatic as my brother's wedding planning. Sorry. Yep, that neighbor was the author of her own loneliness and misfortune and seems pretty narcissistic to boot. Her attitude to initiating a divorce and then being so damn devastated when your former partner goes on to lead a successful dating life is a bit of a hint there. A lot of it feels like it stems from pathological and ingrained issues rather than from any actual will to be evil, so I do feel for her a little. It can't be easy alienating yourself from an entire neighborhood and not knowing why. Therapy, people. If this is happening to you, get it. You might find out you're the problem. I'm going to say the author doesn't bear any jerkdom for her outburst of laughter. I too scream laugh when I'm in shock, and hearing a comment like that is truly shocking. I don't know how I'd react if I was told that I'd been fortunate in the death of a loved one, one of the most traumatizing events that can happen in a regular person's life. But hey, at least you made some new friends in the neighbors. So silver lining there. I do wonder if the author's kids kept up their playdates with this ladies. Hopefully they work something out, and maybe they can even initiate some conversations to ground this lady a bit more. Who knows, miracles can happen sometimes. Am I the jerk for moving out when my stepsister ruined my Father's Day gift for my dad? I'm a 16-year-old girl, and I live with my mum, stepdad, and stepsister who's 18, and my stepbrother who's 20. I lost my dad to terminal illness when I was 13 years old. We were very close, and his death was a major loss in my life. I wasn't able to keep much of his belongings because of my stepdad's insecurities and his lack of sympathy and respect for me and my dad. Also, my mum moved on relatively quickly. My stepsister and I share a room together. My stepbrother has the bigger room because he's a, quote, man, and as a result, me and my stepsister are always in conflict. She wants me out during the day as she uses the room as her art studio. She recently accused me of stealing her tools and convinced her dad to get a lock, so now I'm being forcefully locked out and can't get in until after a huge argument and getting my mum involved. my stepsister had an argument with her brother and ruined his gaming console while he was out. He came into the room quietly in the evening. He stood by the door and asked me to bring him my sister's acrylic paint set. I asked if he got permission and he said yes, so I gave it to him and went back to study. At dinner, my stepsister came downstairs yelling that her brother had access to her room and ruined her paint set. There was a lot of yelling and arguing. Stepsister asked how my stepbrother walked into the room when it was supposed to be locked. My stepbrother, quote, admitted I helped him out and brought the paint set to him. My stepsister went off on me, called me an accomplice, and then ran upstairs and took the gift I'd prepared for my dad for Father's Day. I picked up flowers I'd planted from our small garden that I take care of by myself and prepared a nice wooden letter-shaped pot, used my dad's first initial and filled it with the flowers I picked and decorated it with ribbons. It wasn't that good, but it was like a floral letter. I planned to visit his grave and put the gift there. My stepsister bashed it to pieces. It was completely ruined. I yelled at her and kept crying. Mum and stepdad gave her harsh punishments and thought it was fixable, but it was so done. I called my uncle who came and berated my mum and stepdad. Stepdad offered to fix it and punish my stepdaughter harder, but I packed my things to go with my uncle. My mum begged me to stay, but I refused and didn't respond when she kept calling, saying she did nothing to deserve to be shunned by me and my uncle, who told the family about what happened. The family told Mum not to come visit on Father's Day and are angry with her because I moved out over this. So, am I the jerk? No, it sounds like you were right to get out of there. Your mum has every right to move on at her own pace, but it sounds like your stepfamily were not at all considerate of your place in the household, and that your stepsister was positively venomous. If you had stayed after getting her punished for her actions, the likelihood of retribution was very real. And given that your stepdad was so fine with her locking you out of your own bedroom in the first place, I can't imagine that you would have had too much more than the bare minimum of support in an ongoing feud. His son shouldn't be resorting to such childish retaliation at the age of 20. Your mum kind of stood up for you when push came to shove in the past, but only once things were already out of control in the ongoing sibling war it seems like your stepsister had with everyone else. On the whole, I can absolutely understand why you didn't want to be a part of that household. Here's hoping you find some resolution and that your immediate family can resolve to be less negligent. I own you. Hi everyone, I work at a big box retail store that charges people a membership fee in order to shop at our store. Due to this fee, some customers act very entitled, which is to be expected, I guess. But I'll never understand the face people make after you tell them something is out of stock. It's like the most unbelievable thing on the planet just happened. Here's an interaction I had last week with an entitled B-word, aka EB. I got a call on the walkie saying that there was a problem in one of our healthy food aisles. I quickly made my way there and I heard EB yelling at a fellow employee who I will refer to as Ryan. What do you mean you don't have any more quinoa? I'm sorry, ma'am, I've checked the computer and it's showing me we don't have any more in stock. You people are so useless. What's the point of paying to shop here if you people are good for nothing? And this is where I cut in. Hi there, as Ryan already told you, there's no more quinoa. Is there anything else I can help you with? Yes, get me some damn quinoa. Sorry, Mom, there isn't any in the aisle and someone already checked to see if it's in stock. If you come back tomorrow… I own you. I demand that you bring me quinoa now. I don't care if you need to go to another store to get it. I want my quinoa and I want it now. I pay for your membership and you're no more than my maid. The amount of anger going through me was incredible. I've never dealt with someone this hostile and ridiculous in my life. I'm usually a pretty calm person, but after being treated like this, something inside me snapped. Just because you pay to shop here, it doesn't give you the right to act like a stuck-up B-word. She was stunned. Her jaw dropped and she turned completely white. This didn't last more than 5 seconds because she immediately started turning bright red. I'm going to have you fired. I'm going to fire you. You can't talk to me like that. I walked away and expected to be fired. But I didn't care. I felt so relieved. About 15 minutes later, I found out my manager had heard the whole thing, revoked her membership, and banned her from the store. Ah, sweet justice. I ended up giving him a tub of protein powder he wanted. Win-win, I keep my job and he gets swole. You know, we see a lot of jerks in this channel. I guess it goes with the name. But normally they're self-righteous to a degree where they're the good guys of their own story or just kind of blinded to the situation of the other party. but the audacity of this B-word. She can't for a second possibly not understand that she's the bad guy here, right? "You're no more than my maid," is so cartoonishly obscene that I have actually got trouble understanding that anyone could say it unironically, or at the very least without being a TV villain. Sounds like you have a tight crew there, nearly as tight as your manager's muscles. Keep on keeping on, people, and screw you, EB. Go back and wither away with the rest of the Lannisters. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.